Good morning, everyone. This is the Northcom Global Terrorism Threat Assessment briefing. In this briefing, we'll discuss the 5 global terrorism hotspots that Northcom assesses are most relevant to security here in the Northcom AOR. Those are threats originating out of the Pan-Sahel Africa region, specifically Al Qaeda and the Islamic Maghreb; Syria with ISIS and Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, which is the current Al Qaeda affiliate in Syria; Yemen with Al Qaeda and the Arabian Peninsula, otherwise known as ACAP; the Afghanistan-Pakistan border region, where Khorasan IS, which is affiliated with ISIS, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and the Pakistani Taliban are active, as well as here in the Northcom AOR, North America, as well as a global threat, and that is right-wing extremism. This briefing will primarily concentrate on 2 of the trending threats that we assess are most impactful to Northcom. That is the resurgence of Al Qaeda and the growth of right-wing extremism. The focus on ISIS has allowed the Al Qaeda organization to regroup and plot new attacks. Northcom assesses Al Qaeda still maintains an operational capability to conduct worldwide attacks, and that Al Qaeda will attempt to reestablish itself as the premier global Sunni jihadist organization after it was supplanted by ISIS. Northcom assesses with medium confidence Al Qaeda and ISIS remnants could establish a formal working relationship or merger. Secondly, we have the growth of right-wing extremism, which we've seen here in the Northcom AOR as well as around the globe. Attacks in the United States and worldwide indicate the threat is real and growing. Northcom notes that a poor collection strategy and coordination has enabled the growth of right-wing extremist groups and movements. Northcom would also note there's a lack of federal domestic terror laws in the United States, which is handicapping the approach towards addressing right-wing extremism. This is a Northcom Global Terrorism Hotspots map. As you can see, with the Pan-Sahel Africa, where AQIM is active; Syria with ISIS and Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham; AFPAC, where we have the Taliban, Khorasan IS, and LET; and Yemen, we have ACAP, as well as the Houthis. Northcom assesses that these groups, while emanating from outside the Northcom AOR, pose the greatest threat within Northcom. Indications and warnings of terrorist activity specific to Al Qaeda resurgence. Reporting has indicated a resurgence of Al Qaeda activity in Yemen. There's been an outflow of Al Qaeda fighters from Iraq and Syria into Yemen, and one of the reasons for this is the permissive operating environment within Yemen, which is key to the group's resurgence. Northwest Syria also remains a stronghold for Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, which is an Al Qaeda offshoot. Northcom assesses the death of Hamza bin Laden is unlikely to impact the emergence of Al Qaeda. The main concern, of course, is operatives seeded into Europe during the immigration inflow from Syria remain a critical threat. We would also note that some of these operatives are believed to hold European passports, potentially for allowing travel into the United States without requiring a visa. As far as right-wing extremism, the growth of U.S.-born violent extremists tops over 1,000 active groups. Right-wing extremist deaths have led to 50 deaths in 2018, as well as over 40 deaths in 2019. Right-wing extremist attacks since 2002 have outpaced attacks by jihadist groups, resulting in 109 deaths versus 104. The FBI currently has 850 open investigations into right-wing extremism. Northcom notes there's been 355 arrests since 2016, outpacing jihadist arrests. The lone wolf nature of attacks within right-wing extremism make addressing this threat difficult to both identify as well as disrupt. Northcom notes that increased social media monitoring is required to identify individuals, particularly lone wolf individuals, who have a predilection for conducting these sort of attacks. CBRN weapons effects. Al Qaeda reporting indicates Al Qaeda has maintained an interest in CBR weapons. We know that captured manuals have shown that AQ does have an interest in nuclear weapons. Also, ISIS's use of chlorine gas in Syria demonstrates a willingness of Sunni jihadists, be it ISIS or Al Qaeda, to use chemical munitions. We also know from the past there was reporting that AQCOM potentially had some contacts. To what extent, we don't know. with Al Qaeda, again showing their interest in nuclear weapons. Limited reporting indicates Al Qaeda in Yemen currently has an active CBRN capability. This capability is assessed to be weaponized ricin, which is an extremely easy to produce biological toxin made from castor beans that are also a favorite of right-wing extremism, which I'll address in a minute. There's no specific or credible reporting currently indicating any sort of active radiological or nuclear capability with Al Qaeda, although we assess that this capability could be quickly developed with little to no reporting, and we can continue to monitor that threat. Right-wing extremism. Right-wing extremism has shown historical interest in CBRN. Ricin attacks are traditional hallmarks of right-wing extremist terror campaigns. We saw a number of attacks in the last 10 years using ricin, often delivered via the U.S. postal system to victims, including a number of politicians, including the president, members of Congress, NRA, gun activists, excuse me, as well. One of the reasons we see this as a ricin is favored due to the ease in production. In 2011, a Georgia-based right-wing extremist group was arrested for plotting a series of attacks, including the use of ricin. Right-wing extremists has also shown an interest in dirty bombs. Self-professed neo-Nazi James Cummings was arrested in 2008, where he was plotting to detonate a 1,000-pound mixture of uranium and thorium, essentially a dirty bomb. So Northcom notes that there is an interest, and there has been an interest by right-wing extremists in leveraging CBRN weapons. Cyber effects. Al Qaeda does not currently maintain an offensive cyber capability. The Al Qaeda electronic is AQ's cyber arm. They're primarily conducting low-skill attacks, web defacements. ISIS, their cyber caliphate, retains a superior cyber capability to Al Qaeda's AQE, but as we noted earlier, the potential of a working relationship or even a merger between the two could quickly impact Al Qaeda's cyber arm and improve their capability. Al Qaeda's cyber threat does stem from its propaganda. Al Qaeda is extremely adept at spreading its message via the internet. This ability to recruit, inspire, and direct attacks via the internet serves as Al Qaeda's default cyber capability. As far as right-wing extremism, right-wing extremists currently maintain a decentralized, albeit low-skill capability. There's currently no known organized cyber capability among right-wing extremists. This capability also consists of lone wolf actors. Similar to Al Qaeda, right-wing extremists use their cyber capability to spread propaganda, to recruit, and to inspire. Some of the hacktivist actors that we see conducting, again, web defacements, cross-site scripting attacks, more of the low-skilled attacks, are more left-leaning organizations, groups such as Anonymous and its offshoots, are more likely to trend left-leaning, and this ideology is largely driven by environmental or social justice issues. We have not seen that yet with right-wing extremists. Threat assessment, likely scenarios. Al Qaeda. Northcom assesses with medium-high confidence Al Qaeda will conduct a high-profile attack within the next 6 to 8 months. This attack will be designed to show Al Qaeda retains operational capability to strike worldwide, and this attack will likely focus on civilian soft targets to maximize damage and public exposure of the attack. The Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula affiliate remains the most capable in the Al Qaeda franchise. ACAP retains expert bomb makers and is combat hardened. Ibrahim Asiri, the former expert bomb maker, has likely passed on his knowledge to other ACAP operatives. We believe they retain a high capability with respect to bomb making. The Khorasan Group, which is a senior group of Al Qaeda operatives, has been largely neutralized, although we assess some of the trainees remain capable of plotting and launching complex attacks. Right-wing extremism. Northcom assesses with high confidence right-wing extremist elements will conduct an attack within the next 6 months. These attacks will likely consist of lone wolf actors and will likely leverage small arms with high-capacity magazines, although there's no specific reporting at the moment indicating organized direction of such attacks. The recent attacks will serve as inspiration. The attack in El Paso against immigrant communities will likely embolden additional right-wing extremist elements to act. a combative political climate is currently contributing to the increase in domestic terrorism. Legal authorities, Al Qaeda will continue to leverage Title 10 and Title 50 authorities, executive orders, as well as Executive Order 13224, specially designated global terrorists to go after their funds. Right-wing terrorism, no current domestic terrorism laws exist, which is a challenge. Warranted intel collection is required, both state and federal surveillance, web persona operations, and frequented message boards and online forums, as well as directed human intelligence and informant recruitment is required. Placement and access and human assets within these organizations require specialized right-wing extremist targeting officers. Kill capture authorities, Al Qaeda with Title 10 and Title 50, as well as executive orders, signature strikes, and the disposition matrix. Right-wing extremism, obviously no kill or capture authorities. Domestic terrorism laws, again, need to be enacted to respond to this threat. Emergency management and response. FEMA will lead the response to any domestic terrorist attack, responsible for coordinating complex coordinated terrorist attack responses within the United States and developing threat and hazard identification and risk assessment within local communities. The federal response plan also will govern the response to any sort of attack here in the United States. Of course, any attacks conducted overseas will be coordinated by the State Department's Foreign Emergency Support Team. And the FBI will be the lead investigative agency of attacks conducted overseas targeting U.S. interests. Counterterrorism strategy recommendations. Al Qaeda, a find, fix, finish, exploit, and analyze, disseminate approach, a relentless pursuit of Al Qaeda operatives, logistics, facilitators located overseas, continued cooperation with foreign partners to enable counterterrorism operations, to deny permissive operating environments, as well as aggressive intelligence collection authorities to identify key personnel and disrupt their decision-making cycle, as well as programs designed to seed technology to these groups that are advantageous to U.S. intelligence efforts. With respect to right-wing extremism, federal domestic terrorism laws need to be enacted. We need to develop a national collection plan for right-wing extremists. We can combine lessons learned from the Sunni jihadist collection strategies, along with newly developed approaches for right-wing extremist threat. Also designate a lead agency, FBI, ATF, DHS, and they must be allocated proper resources for the threat. Additionally, new domestic collection authorities for designated right-wing extremist groups must be authorized. And this is the NORTHCOM threat briefing for the global terrorism threat assessment. Thank you.